Good evening, guys. Today it is 5th of June, and I am back with another new video. So, in this video, guys, we will discuss about the evolving scenarios in the West Asia regarding the war that is currently going on, and the whole energy market is rattled because of the ongoing war, and the and all the country's economy and also our economy is largely suffering because of the war. And also we will discuss what the consequences of the war could be in our stock market investments in the coming months and the years ahead. So let's begin. So as of today, as from the official statements from Iran as well as USA, the negotiations between them are still going on, as claimed by both the sides. But as you all know, there is a difference between what is being said by someone and what we can see they are doing. So clearly there is a big mismatch, or there is a big gap between what it is claimed by Trump as well as Iran, more so by Trump than Iran, that the negotiations are going on very well, and there will be very positive results. The very good or the positive results is around the corner, which is claimed by him very regularly in the social media, in his own social media, that is the Truth Social that he uses. But we can clearly see that this is not materializing in the on the ground. So what I mean to say is there is clearly something that is being kept that is clearly being kept away from the common public by the politicians in the USA as well as Iran. So in this video, let me share with you guys my views on how Trump is thinking about the war and how he is portraying about the war to its citizen, and what I think the Iran is thinking about the negotiations. So what my perspective is, Trump on the one side, he is saying about saying like he is very serious about the negotiations, and some kind of consensus is around the corner. But I think he is just buying time while saying so, because he also knows that the common public in USA as well as around the world are only concerned about the war because they are not okay with the rising crude prices. In fact, they are very countries are finding very hard time to grapple with the rising crude prices, and many countries are facing severe problems. So, and the problem is definitely going to rise as the time if the as the time as the time goes by, if the oil prices doesn't fall. So while he buys time, he is indirectly nudging all the countries to reroute the supply chain from the Strait of Hormuz to through the other routes. So why so? So to understand this, let me give a brief description of the geography of the Gulf states and the Iran, which sits at its vicinity, and that will help us to understand why Trump is playing. Trump is betting on that strategy. So, as we all know, there is Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE or Dubai, and there is Oman, which is adjacent to UAE, and there is Yemen, which doesn't supply much oil, and of course there is Qatar, which is just sits at the adjacent to UAE. So, and there is Iraq and Syria, which are kind of away from Gulf states, like they are more nearer to Mediterranean Sea than to Gulf states. Although Iraq and Syria do supply their oil, did used to supply their oil through Strait of Hormuz. So what it is, it can be observed that the Iraq and Syria see their kind of making agreement to supply Iraqi oil through Syria to Mediterranean Sea, and by doing so they will bypass Strait of Hormuz. And Kuwait is also going Kuwait is also shaking hand with Iraq to use the same route so that it can also supply its oil through Mediterranean Sea. And as we all know, Saudi Arabia has been supplying its oil all through the in fact all throughout the war, also through the Bab el Mandab Strait, that is in the Red Sea. And UAE is also betting on Strait of Fujian, that is in Oman, which opens directly on that is which opens directly on Arabian Sea, not which doesn't need the Strait of Hormuz. And Oman doesn't need Strait of Hormuz, as you all know. It is and only Qatar is left, and which also Qatar will also find Fujian port to be to be a readout for its oil. So we can see that Strait of Hormuz, the countries are rendering Strait of Hormuz not that necessary if the supply chain constraint is kept in place, and they will as you all know, necessity is the mother of all invention. So they will invent those routes, and that Strait of Hormuz, that the importance of Strait of Hormuz will eventually come down. That will definitely bring the oil price very low, which will have a big impact on Iran, because Iran cannot send its oil without Strait of Hormuz, because USA will place sanction in to all the countries which assist Iran if Iran tries to ship their oil through land routes. So I think USA is buying time and allowing other countries to reroute its oil, so that the world leaves on Iran in a place where only Iran is not able to ship their oil, whereas other countries by one way or the other finds their alternative way. This will tremendously reduce the leverage of Iran, which they currently enjoy over Strait of Hormuz, because Strait of Hormuz is like that nuclear weapon for Iran, which they can, you know, adjust and regulate very easily by threat, not even by you know, not even by firing one bullet, and by doing so they can hold the world economy hostage. So that leverage will die down if if what I have just mentioned plays out, and which is playing out gradually. If we can just pay attention to to the concerned countries about how they are trying to reroute their oil, and what its repercussion on the Strait of Hormuz would be in the coming years. So in the coming months. So I think Trump is playing that card, and he's just buying time by just reiterating that yes, the deal is around the corner, and the deal will be announced in the coming weeks, coming weekends, like that. And by doing so, gradually the leverage of Iran is coming down, will come down. Now the important point to keep in mind that the midterm election in USA is around the corner. That is in November 2026, and before that, the oil prices has to come down substantially. Otherwise, that would put Republican Party at a very weak position to go for the election. So that is the main whole point. Whether this if whether this can be achieved well before that midterm election, and by way of achieving this, the country the prices of oil will be brought down, and this will place Iran at a very weak position as far as the negotiation is or leverage is concerned. So I think the negotiation between Iran and USA won't have any fruitful result, because Trump is not serious about the negotiation. That is the whole point that I've been trying to say from the beginning, and to make that point very clear, I described you the geography and how the countries are trying to reroute their oil production, oil supply to different routes. So how its impact on our economy could be in the coming years. So I think the sooner it can be achieved, the better the impact will be, because as we all know, the country is very our country is grappling with that rising fuel prices, because the balance of payment because dollar is continuously going away from our country, and balance of payment issue can arise if this continues. So the sooner the oil prices come down, the better it would be for our country. So it remains to be seen how quickly that prices of oil can be brought down through the demand supply mechanism, and by rerouting the oil that are being produced by the Gulf countries, what I have just mentioned. And by doing so, the USA will come out victorious at the end of the at the end of that whole process, regardless how anybody or how people criticize Donald Trump. he is not that, you know, he is not that person who is not who is doing all these things without having a clear, you know, game plan in his mind. I think this is his roadmap from what it can be, from what because this seems very logical, and only thing that, you know, the only point which is concern which is very concerned for which will be very concerned for him would be the timeline, that the whole process has to yield result within say in couple of months, 1 or 2 or 3 4 months, because it is the November which will be in his mind, and before that November the whole crude oil prices has to come down without, you know, him having to negotiate with Iran. And if he succeeds in doing so, it will place Iran in a very weak position, because on the one hand, Israel is also expanding its border in, you know, Lebanon, by way of you know, diminishing and defeating Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Iran and the infrastructure in Iran is also, you know, destroyed by a significant uh, by a significant proportion by the USA and Israel in the war that we saw. So this is the whole picture, what it looks like from present point of view. So lastly, what it means for all of us from the Indian stock market perspective, I think what it signifies is we have to only observe the oil prices. The sooner it goes down, the better it is for all of us, because the country it will be very difficult for us to sustain this high crude oil price for too long. And if the rerouting by different countries succeeds, this would definitely bring down the oil prices to say 80 or 75 level. That would be at least give a sense of relief for all the investor in our stock market community. So that's it for all. That's it for today, guys, and see you in the next video. So thank you.